Previously on the Youth Leadership Debate.
Of the country. People in the North were saying it's their turn, that yes, Goodluck Jonathan has to step down and let a Northerner rule.
I argue that this system does not solve the ever-increasing spate of youth unemployment in Nigeria. These gigs or opportunities are strongly based on online presence.
Why do we have 78% girls in the northern part of Nigeria who are childless or who were married as childless? Why do we have incessant cases of child abuse and vestibular vaginal fistula in the northern part of Nigeria and even Nigeria at large? Why is Nigeria still leading in the scene of child marriage in the world?
One of the Child Rights Act basically criminalized sex with a child under 18 years. And this was further clarified by Section 277 of the Child Rights Act, which explains that a child is anyone less than 18 years. Now, further clarified by Section...
The Child Rights Act clearly states and clearly emphasizes that the age of consent is 18 years. A child...
Number one is hospital care, but it's limited to 15 days a year, and the patient is only allowed to stay in the general ward. Number two is pharmaceutical care, but it's limited to only the drug group.
Politicians continue to find their way to political offices through election malpractice.
It's the Youth Day of Service, and it's really in commemoration of the International Youth Day.
The Youth Day of Service is leadership in action. We're all about inspiring, equipping, and empowering a new cadre of African leaders that will transform themselves personally, the community, and the entire Africa.
This is important because we're trying to also just promote and encourage volunteering. Everyone has come out today. Some of our partners have come out today to volunteer and support.
Our partnership with the Leap Africa on the Youth Day of Service is key to creating social impact in the lives of communities, in the lives of youth members, in the lives of everyone around us.
Young people are vibrant, young people are creative, young people are innovative, and so you can't even begin to imagine the kinds of projects that we have seen so far.
Tertiary institutions are academic establishments of higher learning that offer an advanced form of education. They are places where intellectuals are groomed and taught the right ways of expression. The Nigeria Youth Futures Fund NYFF Youth Leadership Debates competition has given young Nigerian undergraduates an opportunity to engage themselves on relevant issues and raise their voices for social change. 6 teams have successfully scaled to the semi-finals out of 341 initial entries from students in 40 tertiary institutions across Nigeria, and only 2 teams will compete in the grand finale. Participating in the semi-finals are teams from Kaduna State University, Gregory University, University of Benin, University of Ibadan, Ahmadu Bello University, and University of Ilorin. This episode will feature extended highlights from the debates. It is important to let you know, however, that prior to the finale, the participants will undergo 2 days residential training on policy analysis, research, public speaking, and leadership before the commencement of the competition in Lagos. Following the semi-finals, 2 teams will compete in the finals for the grand prize of 1,500,000 naira and other benefits, while the second-placed team will be given 1 million naira with other benefits, and the third-placed team also gets 600,000 naira with other benefits included. The Youth Leadership Debate is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund (NYFF), implemented by Leap Africa and funded by the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. Now, this stage of the competition sees the convergence of the remaining contestants at an on-site venue, meaning they will come face-to-face with each other. That makes for more spicy encounters compared to what we've seen in the previous rounds so far. Needless to say, of course, that the competition gets stronger as we now have only the best of the remaining in the competition. Ijeoma Kalu, Special Projects Officer at Leap Africa, will moderate proceedings, and here she's in the company of Annabelle Wankama, the Director of Programs, Leap Africa, who shares with us about the NYFF, her excitement about the youth leadership debate, and her expectations for the semi-finals.
Amabel will be telling us a bit about NYFF and the YLD. Please, Amabel, over to you.
Thank you so much, Joma. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited. NYFF was conceived as a response to sort of the agitation of young people in the country, a way to empower and equip them and inspire them to have their voices heard, to get into leadership, to be active citizens, to be movers and shakers in terms of the areas of social change and positive development. We realize that young people in our country they're a repository of ideas, of perspectives, of thoughts that we believe that the world should hear, but not just hear it, but hear it in the right ways. Young people, though they have a lot to say, they need to be given the capacity, the know-how in how to say it, how to speak towards social change, how to speak about issues in a way that gets people interested in hearing and listening. Therefore, these debates have brought together exceptional young people from across universities in the country, from across higher institutions in Nigeria, and they've gone through several rounds of debating, and now we have semi-finalists made up of 6 teams who are here to debate it out again in front of the country, show us really what they're made of. As a leadership development organization that Leap Africa is, we believe that young people should be given the opportunity to lead. But if we don't provide a platform for them to showcase that they are capable of leading, then they never get the chance to do so. But this is one of the reasons why we're here today. Very excited, like I said earlier. So I want to use this opportunity to thank you viewers for tuning in, to thank the team for putting this together. It's been a lot of work and it's been a lot of effort on the part of the debaters. They really are exceptional. I can't wait for you to meet them. So welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Amabel. Thank you so much.
As always, we cannot proceed into the debates without the presence of our judges. Now it's time to meet our first set of contestants and the terms of engagement.
Without further ado, I'd also like to talk about the 6 teams who have made it to the semi-finals. First on that list is Kaduna State University. For Kaduna State University, we have John Adi Victor, Bilkisu Mohammed Gazara, Raymond Abu Ojochukwu, David Oyibo Uneku. We also have debaters from Gregory University, Onwuche Marvelous Adana, Marvelous Naji, Gift Enoch Chiwendo, Akinyeke Precious Toluwanimi. And from the University of Benin, we have Fayon Michelle Oluwaseyi, Oko Michael, Omoera Victory Ochoa, Adia Tijani Sheu, Fola Oyetayo Chisom, Atimo Fifolua Oyetola, and Idiaye Precious Aruaye. Finally, we have debaters from Ahmadu Bello University, Jafar Aminu, Mukhtar Sadia, Ibrahim Usman Abubakar, and Paul Davida Omosomi, Usman Halimat Ojone, Babatunde Oluwa Bokumi from University of Ilorin.
In our first on-site contests, Kaduna State University went up against Gregory University. The topic before them is alternative financing of higher education is the solution to the governance problems confronting the education sector in Nigeria. Kaduna State University argued in support, while Gregory University came up with their arguments against. The present economic realities in Nigeria point to the fact that government faces immense difficulty to fund university education. It is evident in the incessant shutdown of academic activities through industrial actions of academic staff. government functionaries, researchers, economic analysts, and observers have, in diverse manners and on various occasions, made this stark reality known to university authorities. As a result, some of them have embarked on different conventional measures to generate revenue internally to supplement government grants and subventions. These measures or sources have not delivered the universities from the problem of underfunding and its attendant consequences. The need to look out for alternative fund sources has therefore become imperative. But do these set of debaters agree? Well, the stage is set and our contestants are ready. So let's join Ijeoma as she takes us through proceedings.
I'd like to call on Mr. David Oyibo from Kaduna State University.
I know firsthand what it means to suffer from inadequate funding in a higher institution. You see, Kaduna State University was never my first choice university. In my first university, I was admitted into medical school. And over 2 years, I was delayed in medical school. Why? Because there were no funds for accreditation. The school was willing to make it happen, but government had no funds to make it happen. We wrote dozens of letters, went on protest rallies, and we even went on social media, yet nothing happened. And of course, I had to transfer from that university, but in the process, I lost precious time. When we talk about alternative financing of public institutions, we're talking about unconventional means of funding public higher institutions. According to Onyechi Nkem in her research, which she did in Niger Delta states about alternative funding in that region, she found that universities that actually went through alternate funding actually had better infrastructure. They had roads, better utilities. They had better living conditions for their students. Welfare of staff was much better than other universities. Why? Because of alternative funding. I'd like to say at this point my recommendations. Institutions need to pay fact-finding visits to industries to find out their structures and problems and learn from them and implement them in their own institutions to generate wealth and funding. Of course, there is the problem of misappropriation of funds in our universities. What I recommend is that we create institutions that checkmate misappropriation of funds, corruption, and of course, causes transparency and accountability. Now, to round up, Warren Buffett said, never depend on a single income. Create an alternative source. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much for that very well-studied presentation. On that note, I would like to call on the first speaker from the opposing side, Gregory University, who is by the name of Akinyeke Precious Toluwanimi. Precious, you have the floor for 5 minutes. Over to you.
Nigeria's educational sector is fainting like shedding flowers. This is heartbreaking, not just to Nigerians, you and I, but to the economy itself as it's currently in tears. To presume that alternative financing would solve this problem is an idea far-fetched. With the honorable judges and the House, my name is Precious Akinyeke from the esteemed Gregory University. And today, I'm going to be standing and speaking in opposition to the topic, alternative financing in higher education is the solution to the governance problems in university system. When I was a child, I thought as a child, I understood as a child, I spoke as a child. I thought money was all I need to get everything I want. My understanding was limited to once I get money, I get going. All I said was, money, money. Now, I'm matured with a different understanding. a different perspective and approach to life. And I will say, more money is not the solution to the problems facing Nigerian university, rather massive management. In 2018, Nigerian University Commission gave a report that was given by Professor Abubakar Adamu, who said that the World Bank was going to give funds, loans to the private universities in Nigeria, and that they are going to pay back over a period of time. That's since 2018. From 2018 till now, 4 years different. 4 years different. The governance problem has yet to be solved. Do you call that a solution? Alternative financing can also lead to education being expensive in Nigeria. In the bid of universities to get funds, they are tempted and would most probably make the students to pay more than they've been paying before. And Nigeria's 1999 Constitution, Chapter 2, Section 18, Subsection 1 states that the Nigerian government shall direct its policy towards ensuring adequate and equal access to education. Alternative financing will negate this. No country has ever risen from the third world to the first who would not secure or control over its most crucial knowledge warehouse, which is the university. It's not about more money, it's about more management. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Akmieke, for that presentation. If you're just joining us, you're tuned into the Youth Leadership Debates of the NYFF. And we have on stage speakers from Kaduna State University and Gregory University. We have heard from the first speakers who had 5 minutes to talk about the topic, alternative financing for higher education, solution to governance problems confronting Nigeria. Now we have the second speaker from Kaduna State University in the name of Mr. Raymond Abu, who is still proposing this motion. Mr. Raymond, you have...
In the voice of Nelson Mandela, the pride of every nation is the education of its youth. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my opponents in argument, panel of judges. Education serves as a bedrock for national development. And no nation of the world, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, attain that level of growth, sustainable development, without prioritizing the education of its citizens. It's on this note, I will say, in accordance to what my opponent in argument stated during his wonderful presentation, he stated, he made a recommendation, he traced it to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Section 18, subsection 1 of that Constitution. It does not give access, the policy does not make education free for all, but it is, he said it makes policies that make education available for Nigerians, not free for all. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in a couple of minutes, I will be proving to you reasons why alternative financing is the solution to the problem confronting our universities. My first argument, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, is regular payment of salaries, incentives, and wages for lecturers. One of the problems affecting our institution is the problem of delay and irregular payment of salary. An article published on the 26th of July 2022, it was stressed and emphasized. The ASU chairman of University of Jos, Dr. Lazarus Magero, stated that for the past 11 years, lecturers' salary has not been reviewed. And it is part of the agitation in the ongoing strike that has kept thousands of Nigerians at home. Panel of judges, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, how can a nation grow when there is no proper funding? So on this note, I will say, the solution to this problem is alternative funding. And this will help universities and institutions in our dear nation generate revenue and by extension, increase the internal generated revenue of the university. And this will help reduce the problem of unemployment, the problem of funding in our dear nation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my next argument is development of staff. It must be stressed and emphasized. There is a popular saying that states that likes beget likes. We are product of people that we closely associate with. This was evident in the life of Greek philosophers of old: Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. Socrates was a tutor to Plato. Plato was a tutor to Aristotle. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, these men were able to break ground in the history in the philosophical world. It's on this note I will say there is need for our lecturers to be empowered, equipped, because they are strategic and instrumental towards development of the educational sector. Can you give what you don't have, distinguished ladies and gentlemen? There is need for our lecturers to be equipped. And in the face of poor funding, scarcity of resources, because of competing demand from other sectors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, how can the government settle this problem? So there is need for alternative funding. So on this note, I will say that it is better for the government to return back and give autonomy to the university to embark on alternative funding to settle this problem. And my recommendations are, there is need for perfect evaluation, monitoring for accountability and profitability of this structure so that it becomes reasonable and effectively utilized. My next recommendation is, parents must be sensitized. It's on this note I will say, I am proud to affirm. Thank you.
Viewing governance of universities can be seen from two different dimensions. From the external level, we see that the government are managing these universities through the National Universities Commission, that is the NUC. And from the internal level, we see that the government, that's where we start to view the corporate governance system. That's where we see the chancellors, the pro-chancellors, the deans, and so on. Now, saying alternative financing is the solution to the problems of university problems in Nigeria is just like mowing a corner of a lawn and leaving the rest of the lawn with overgrown bushes. That is to say that alternative financing only solves a part of this problem, and it is limited in its action in solving the governance problems in Nigeria. Why adopt a system that is not reliable? Why adopt a system that will not save us? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marvelous. Thank you. The very interesting thing about this conversation that we're having so far is that the debaters are not just debating for debating's sake. They're also giving us recommendations on the path that they have chosen. And now I would like to give 1 minute to the first speakers from both sides to crystallize their points.
American actor and philanthropist Paul Newman said, "The only way we can give our children the best education in the world and prepare them for this century is by funding the programs that serve them." My opponent in argument said in one of our recommendations that universities should add more to the society for government to fund them. I want to say to you that education is a right, not give and take. Everyone deserves education. Government does not need to see how well the impact of universities are on society before they fund universities. No system can thrive on one source of funding, including our university system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kaduna State University. Tim Gregory, you have the floor now.
My good colleague from the affirmative side said that free education when I was mentioning constitution, but I want to reaffirm that I did not say free education because currently in Nigeria, in the university, there's no free education. But I'm saying that education should be accessible by everybody. How would you pay 3 million to study medicine in a university? It should be accessible.
I'd like us to take a bit of a break as we call on the judges to give their verdict, rather their opinion about this particular round that we've come to. Thank you. Stay tuned. So I would like to start with you, Ijoma. What did you think about the debates? What do you have to say to the debaters and the audience?
Okay, thank you for having me. It was an interesting debate. It was enlightening, and I could say that some of them do not really understand what the topic states They were kind of misunderstanding of what they were supposed to speak to. And overall, it was interesting. It was interesting. Some points were made, clear arguments were made. The rebuttals were not really strong, but it was interesting.
All right, thank you so much. OJ, over to you.
Well, one thing is crystal clear. They both want a better education system. Definitely trying to source their points and, convince the panel and also the audience of their various beliefs about this. Yes, they made some points, like IJ said. They could have done quite better in some ways in terms of their arguments, their identifying their positives, and for each of the arguments, really, positives, the pros, and then the cons, and then possibly outweighing it and justifying your stand, And yes, they had that temptation where some of them they were actually drifting at some point off the topic. But one thing we see is that they are passionate about the cause, and they give it a good shot anyway.
Thank you so much, OJ. Anto?
Sure. I'll just piggyback off my fellow judges that we did notice that some of the debaters may have deviated, but that doesn't take away from the fact that we know that they want a better educational system. So I'll just say, moving forward, when it comes to debates, it's very key that you stick to the topic, because that's how you're judged. And, this is also a life skill that when you're given a task, you stick to the task. If there's room for innovation, by all means, but when you're supposed to focus on a task and present it well, it's very key that you do that.
All right, thank you so much, judges. I think a key takeaway from this is that these debaters are passionate about what they're debating about, right? So education, higher education has been a problem that Nigeria is faced with, and these debaters have come to say their part, which is very important.
On the next episode of the program, we'll bring you highlights of the next round of debate. We'll also find out who has moved to the finale to get a shot at the top prize. 2 teams will move closer to getting the 1.5 million naira top prize with some other juicy benefits. But who are the 2 teams? More interestingly, they will get the opportunity to do it on one of the biggest stages of public discourse in Nigeria, the platform. The second placed team will not leave empty-handed. They will be given 1 million naira with other benefits, and the third place team also gets 600,000 naira with other benefits included. The Youth Leadership Debate is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund (NYFF), implemented by Leap Africa and funded by the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. If you'd like to know more about their operations, kindly visit their website on www.leapafrica.org.